welcome to Bear Mountain. It's anemone time. Pre-sprouting anemones today. For us in Zone 8, it's time. For me, the hardest part of the job is to figure out how much of each color we're going to pre-sprout. I want to do them all. I want all the colors. I want them all planted. But unfortunately, we just don't have that much space. So I have to decide, what is everybody going to be looking for next spring? They're going to want a lot of white? Or are they going to want some pink? Or blue? Or some red? We've had many requests for a burgundy, and we are adding that again. But I have to decide. I know I'm going to be doing lots of pastels, but just need to know how many pink and how many white. It's a big guessing game. One that's kind of tricky, but I kind of like. So I just have to decide. It's time.
Well, today we're going to pre-sprout our anemones. As we were talking about earlier about what we decided to finally pick to do, we've got a pile here of about probably 2,000 or so corms. It's going to take us a bit to get them all pre-sprouted. Our pre-sprout process, and we'll have links down below in the show notes to vlog entries or blog entries that we made previously on this. It'll give you even more detail on it, so we're not going to spend a lot of time going in super in depth. But the basics of it is what we try to do is use cool water, aerate the water on a constant basis, and allow the corms to absorb enough to the point where they plump up to just about twice in size. Now, depending on the conditions and you know how dry the corms are, it's usually somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. You don't want to go over 24 hours, because if you start doing that, you're going to end up with problems with the corms themselves that can actually drown them in a sense. The whole point on this is just to get them plumped up. Then after the plumping process, and we'll talk about this later too, we'll talk about how we're going to do the actual pre-sprout itself. So this part is what you need to do is you need a large enough container. In this case, for what we're doing, we're using a 5-gallon Homer bucket, but if you had something larger and more aeration stones, it would work out just fine. And so we're just kind of limiting ourselves to this. We use a Eco Air pump. You can get this at any hobby store or pet shop. It's basically an aquarium pump, and it's got a variable speed on it, and you can hook up 4 of what are called air stones. Now these are just bubbler stones, and it's very simple poly tubing connected to it. And so what we do is we'll stack a couple of stones in the bottom of the container, then we'll load in the actual corms themselves, stick these 2 longer stones along the side, so we have aeration come from the bottom and aeration coming from the side. And what we'll do after that is then fill it with water up to the point where you're covering the actual corms itself before you turn the bubbler on. You want to make certain that these corms are under the water. Now, let's just do that part, and we'll just pack it around the stones. Now we're going to pack this up, and we're just going to lay them on top of the stones and stack them up to about 3/4 of the height of the bucket. And it is important to label what you're doing. We make certain that every bag is labeled with the count and the variety in it. As boy, I tell you, these corms, they all look kind of alike, so if you ever got messed up on that, you'd probably, well, you'd have a lot of fun. Okay, it's packed, everybody's labeled. Now one of the things you're going to notice is it's packed only to about 3/4 height, and here's the reason why. These are going to expand as they absorb moisture, so they're going to rise a bit up because they're going to almost double in size. Not quite, but somewhat around that size. So what we're going to do is put an aeration stone on the sides, and this just helps keep air moving from the bottom as well as from the sides. The next step is we begin to fill it with water, and this will take a little bit. Okay, we've now filled the container with water. You can see we've left about 3 inches from the top. for room for expansion. Next step is we turn the bubbler on and make certain that we're getting good airflow around it. We turn this bubbler up to a certain level. You can see the side bubblers are bubbling, and in a few minutes, as the air works its way through from the bottom, we'll notice that we'll start seeing bubbles coming up from the bottom as well. This is a really pretty simple process. We'll come back and check this in a few hours, because sometimes what things can happen is, as things get loosened up into the water, they can actually create a little bit of a foam. And there are times if the foam gets too much, what we'll do is we'll stop the process, change the water out, and just start it over again. But the whole idea here is that we want to get these guys plumped up to double size. Now, some questions might come about like, well, why are we doing it now? I mean, today's September 20th. How long are these going to be going? We'll do a second video on a second part that'll explain, the process of pulling them out and packing them for pre-sprout, and how long does that take, and we'll go through all of that. But the basics of where we are, we're in zone 8, 8B I guess, and so our winters are fairly mild as compared to, say, someone who's maybe at a higher elevation. We're pretty close to sea level, so we start these now so that we can get them planted by mid-October, and then they'll be ready, hopefully, in a normal year. Sometime we'll start cutting on anemones about mid-January. The whole idea is that we're targeting to get to Valentine's Day, which is a big flower holiday. So at least for us, being in non-heated greenhouses, this enables us to get somewhat of a start on things. So if you like what you see, be sure to check out our other videos and check the show notes down below. There'll be links to any other information, like our blog entries that we've done in the past on this, and also too, if there is any equipment or things that we can give you a pointer to, that'll also be in the show notes describing what it is we're using. And please subscribe to our channel. Look for the logo. It's floating around usually from either the left or the right side. And also too, be sure to check out some of our other video entries that we've done on our YouTube channel, and please subscribe. We're hoping to help more people get better at what they do, and the more we do it, we hopefully get better at what we do. So thanks again for watching, and take care.